You are as powerful as anything conceived, as powerful as anything that has ever been. You can make it happen. We are back talking that Gita. We're on chapter 17 on the home stretch. Home stretch of a very short, like I said a handful of times before, very short 30-minute dialogue between a warrior prince and his charioteer Krishna. If you have not listened to the first in this series, so be chapter 1, the beginning of this series, that's the overview of the Gita. Chapter 17, the yoga of the threefold division of faith, is as simple as it is profound. Embodied with this concept of a person is what their faith is. A person is what their faith is. This comes from verse 3. The Shraddha, which is more than just faith, it's determined faith. The Shraddha faith, determined faith, of everyone is in accordance to one's nature, O Arjuna. A person is made up of this faith. They are verily what their faith is. They are verily what their faith is. What is your determined faith? It's important to add this distinction from regular kind of Western connotation of faith. Determined faith is, I'm so determined in this direction that I'm going to bring about whatever I'm pursuing. You could have, and people do have, a Shraddha towards their professional lives, towards bringing a dream to life, building their dream home, pursuing a career where you're going to make this happen. I'm going to be a writer. I'm going to be a best-selling author. I'm going to be a mother of 3. I'm going to pursue X, Y, or Z. It's a determined faith of this is going to happen. In colloquial parlance of LA, it's kind of like manifesting. I'm going to manifest that. I'm going to put it up on my vision board. I'm going to manifest it. It's not just a faith. It's a determined pursuit that includes a daily reorientation to that which you want to bring about. And this philosophy says we are what our determined faith is. Because, well, out of any philosophy throughout history, this one is perhaps the most explicit, saying you can make anything happen. You are as powerful as anything conceived, as powerful as anything that has ever been. You can make it happen. But do we know what we want to make happen? If we can make anything happen, that's one hell of a power, a capacity. But are we like teenagers behind the wheel, running ourselves into ditch after ditch after ditch, taking ourselves to the wrong places, ending up in the destinations we outline for ourselves, but by the time we get there, we're like, what the hell did I want this for? Because we're so blind to what we really wanted. We are what our faith is. You will manifest whatever your faith, determined faith is. If it is to be a millionaire, well, God bless you. You'll achieve it and get to the point where you're like, oh, this isn't where I should put my determined faith. This was a misplacement. Let me put it towards here. Well, let me place it over there. And then you get there. You're like, oh, God. Or you place it in, this entire world's unjust and disgusted, despicable place. And I want to place my determined faith in proving that out. And you will. You think you're an awful person, incapable of doing anything good? Well, that's what's going to play out. But instead of a vision board, and by the way, a side story on vision boarding, the author of The Secret that popularized this approach to life of manifesting, visualizing and manifesting. The author of Secret, she visualized, manifested owning a mansion in Beverly Hills, did it, and then sold it within a few years because once she owned it, she was like, holy shit, it's like $1 million a year just to landscape this thing. So if that ain't emblematic of so many of our pursuits, the author herself of The Secret got to a place where she was like, this isn't what I actually want. But enough digression. Back to chapter 17. Chapter all about our faith, making sure it's pointed in the right direction. Making sure we put the right GPS coordinates into the map, because you're going to drive that car towards that direction and you're going to get there. So choose extremely carefully. One other thing that's relevant here, and maybe the most relevant to many listeners, is don't edit your ambition with your determined faith. We've done an episode on self-limiting beliefs before, where we have this internal dialogue that says, well, those great things aren't for me, so I'm going to settle for these slight improvements from where I am today. That is perhaps as destructive as anything else towards the pursuit of the higher. By all means, find our level. This philosophy tells us, know your level and know what's the next rung in the ladder to climb up. Attempting to climb 10 rungs up where you can't reach, you're going to fall. But also knowing that you can climb all the way to the top, one step at a time. As Swami will say in lectures, your headlights of the car, they might only give you visibility 30, 40, 50 feet ahead. And yet those same headlights can take you from New York City all the way to Los Angeles. Those headlights can drive through the night 500, 700 miles. You can travel 700 miles just by seeing 30 feet at a time. All you need to know is where is the next rung of the ladder. But as different points in the Gita, different points within this philosophy, and especially as chapter 17 points out, make sure that the compass is pointed to true north. If you want to travel north, make sure that our internal compass, our determined faith, is pointed at the supreme, not at these mediocre material goals. Those, you'll get those too as a follower. As that old story goes, the person approaches the Buddha and says, I want to follow you, but I'm too addicted to women and wine. And the Buddha replies, follow me and you'll get those too. Aim towards the highest possible ideal. The whole world will begin to reorient itself around you towards that ideal. But don't aim low. Aim towards the highest. And climb the ladder one rung at a time, but without any satisfaction on tiny incremental movement. Continuous, determined faith towards the highest, the self, the supreme. Because you are more powerful than you will ever know, and you will attain. You will embody whatever your faith is. That's today's reflection on the Daily Vedantic. We'll see you tomorrow with chapter 18, the final chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. We'll see you then.